Hey, this is Tyler with TJX Survival. We're here at the Boulder Outdoor Survival School with Kirsten, and she's going to show us how to create a field expedient A-frame shelter. So stay tuned.
Today I'm going to make an A-frame shelter from 2 ponchos and a handful of pea cord. So I'll begin by making a ridge line. When you set up your ridge line, you want to make it at least above waist in height. And I'll start on this tree. I'm going to go ahead and use a bowline knot for my anchor knot. And I'll come across, keeping this even in height. Let's see. Looks pretty good. I want to have an adjustable knot here, so I'm going to go ahead and do a trucker's hitch. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do a taut line hitch. So I'll sort of make a 4, wrap around my standing end 2 to 3 times, come back, wrap 1 more time. And with this I have the flexibility to tighten this whole thing or to loosen it. And to begin with, I want it really loose. So I'll open it up and make it nice and saggy. I highly recommend having a military grade poncho with you when you're out on a trip. Even 1 can be made into an A-frame. 2 is even better if you're along with a buddy. So I'll just lay these out, and the first thing I want to do is go ahead and match the snaps. So I have my grommets at the end. And I'll match the snaps all the way along the spine. Go ahead and drape this over my ridge line. The next thing I need are 3 sticks that are not too brittle, and I'm going to need them to be about yay long, and I'll feed them through the grommets to make this an adjustable tension with the poncho. Start on this side. I'll basically take a bite of my pea cord, thread it through each of the grommets, and then throw my stick right on in. Once again, I'll take a bite of rope, feed it through both of my grommets. And this is why you want to have plenty of slack when you start. the beauty of this is that I have the ability to basically roll to adjust the tension of my poncho. And that way I can center it as I wish in between these two trees. I'll leave it with a little bit of tension, or a little bit loose right now, and go ahead and tighten up my ridge line. So with this taut line hitch,
Can you kind of show me what that rolling is doing?
yeah, so I can show you when I open it up too.
The rolling process is making it slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for example, I feel like my shelter is a little bit too far this way. So I can go ahead and use this stick to give some slack to my poncho in this direction, and then come across and do the same thing on the other remaining grommets.
And that causes tension all along there. Very nice.
Yeah. And one of the most important things you'd want to remember about when you're building a shelter is that you want everything to be taut. You want everything to be tight. You know, you don't want saggy places where rain could amass or places where wind can get in. So keeping this ridge line nice and strong and the poncho nice and taut is a very appropriate place to start. So the next thing we need to do is lock down the four corners of the poncho. So I am going to gather some larger rocks to weight this down. The worst thing that can happen is that you don't put enough weight on your corners and then they slowly slide as the wind, for example, happens overnight. So let me grab some big rocks. So I have some more P cord, and I'll go ahead and attach it to my grommet. You want to pull out at about a 45-degree angle. And it doesn't really matter how you attach this. As I said, it's mostly about the weight that you're attaching to make sure it doesn't move. So I could, for example, do another hitch. In this case, I'm simply going to do a slippery half hitch with a locking half hitch, or something actually even like a bow. It doesn't really matter, so long as it's not going to slip. Alright. Let's say you're at a cord. Maybe you have a bandana on you. Do the same thing. I'll go ahead and attach it to my corner grommet. And then I'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Now that I have my four corners pinned down with some nice heavy rocks that are stable and going to keep the shape of this A-frame, I need to take care of the hood. I don't want any water getting inside, so I went ahead and tied it up. And then what I'm going to do to create even more tension, right, we like tension, is attach another piece of P-cord, or whatever you have for rope. It could be using webbing, for example, works great for this part. And then I'll go ahead and utilize this tree. Once again, I'll go ahead and use a taut line hitch. And that's it. One thing that's always good to do with any type of cord that you have is make sure that you get it out of the way, that you hank it or throw it over something. Protecting a resource like this is really important. So if you leave knots in it overnight or for weeks at a time, they become difficult to get out and they create a weak point in your rope. So it's always good to just go ahead and take care of it real quickly. There we go. And then I would go ahead and pull out the hood on the other side as well. So when we look inside of this shelter, it's cozy. What's nice about this one is that I can sit up in it. I have plenty of room. This shelter size is good for about 3 people. 2 people if you guys don't want to be quite so cozy, but body heat from other people is a great way to stay warm at night, especially if you don't have a sleeping bag or a blanket with you. If it were really cold outside, I would want this ridgeline to be a bit lower, right? Heat rises, so anything that I'm giving off, I want to come back and remain in the airspace around me. With something like this, it's a little bit more airflow. It's a little bit more comfortable. I don't feel claustrophobic at all. But you know, the higher the ridge line, the less heat you're going to be able to retain. So it's a good thing to keep in mind. This spot set me up very well. I was able to utilize trees for my ridge line, and for the far side I was able to utilize another tree to hook up my hood and create tension. This side, I don't have anything nearby, but I still want to be able to pull this hood up. So one thing that's really easy to do is go ahead and tie your P-cord or rope onto your hood, grab a stick or a branch, something like this, and then I can attach the P-cord to this branch, most likely using something like a clove hitch, and then with the remainder of the cord, go ahead and attach it to the ground in 1 or 2 points and utilize big heavy rocks once again. So if you're without the perfect trees, you can go ahead and just get some branches or sticks and still be able to make this entire thing, which is convenient.
Cactus.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kirsten has been awesome to show us this 2-poncho shelter. So there's a couple questions that I want to ask so you guys have the opportunity to gain some knowledge. So what do we do to help fortify this shelter against wind and rain?
Well, with the way it's set up right now, it's actually fairly good. One thing that I would change is to make sure that the poncho made it all the way to the ground. So this one is 6 inches too high perhaps, making sure that nothing actually comes in. Another thing one could do is dig out a trench right here so that if there is any precipitation, it collects and gathers around your tent. That said, you would definitely want to choose your campsite with that in mind before you built this in the first place. So if you're on a hill or a place where water seems like it runs, I certainly wouldn't set my tent up right there.
So don't put it in the bottom of the wadi during flash flood season.
Exactly.
Yeah. So another question I have too is, when I go camping, a lot of the insulation or a lot of the heat loss is due to a lack of insulation on the ground. So how do we fix that problem?
Right. Yes, the ground definitely robs you of your heat. So when we look around just this area in particular, what I'm seeing right now are a bunch of pine needles, right? Air is great for helping basically retard the flow of heat. Heat always wants to transfer, right? Anything that's colder, heat wants to move towards it and equalize the temperatures and such. So if you can create insulation by using things like pine needles, dried grasses, leaves, and create a lot of loft underneath you, any heat that you've created, which the ground is still going to want to steal, is going to be slowed down. It has to work through all of those air pockets, right?
So about how much thickness of brush and boughs should I have underneath me?
Definitely depends on the temperature. When it's probably 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below, I'm thinking about at least a couple of feet underneath me. And one thing that people often forget about insulation, while the ground does rob you of the heat, so does the wind and the weather above. And you can use this type of material on top of you as like a down comforter as well. So I would probably have a couple feet below me and maybe a couple feet on top of me in colder temperatures. When it's warmer outside, simply to have a layer like this coming out underneath the trees is going to be a lot better than just in a sandy wash area, for example.
All right, so that has been a simple how to make a shelter video, a little discussion on insulation. And if you want to get some really solid education on how to do this, learn about the knots, find out how to do this, and go out and do it, where can we do that at?
You can do that at the Boulder Outdoor Survival School in South Central Utah.
Nice. So I've left a link at the bottom of this in the comment section, and it's boss-inc.com. And as always, please subscribe to my channel, comment, share. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment sections. Thank you for watching TJX Survival. If I don't sit my butt on the cactus, that'd be great.